Aloha, beautiful souls, and welcome to another transformational reading here with Rian. And in today's reading, we're going to find out more about your future husband. So, normally I stay away from a lot of like the gender markers and stuff, but I figure, why not get some specific for this reading? We'll do one on your future husband. And for those of you, if you're interested in doing one for your future wife, just let me know in the comments down below, okay? So, let's take a deep breath in. And exhale out. And open ourselves up to receive a beautiful message on love to kick off our reading today. So one more deep breath in. Opening yourself up and exhale. I kept noticing this heart passing through, so I figured it has something to tell us here. So let's see what it is. Sacred union. Honor and treasure your relationship, for it is truly sacred. Ooh. I feel like this is just really highlighting the, promise that is made when you marry somebody and you come into a union that involves ceremony and like the official merging of souls and life. So very good reminder, very, very good reminder. So let's begin with group number 1. Hello there, group number 1, and welcome to your reading to find out more about your future husband. And so, the first card that I pulled here is representative of your future husband's career. So, what do we have here with the river? And so the energy that I'm getting from the river here is one of healing. Okay, so likely your future spouse has a career in some sort of healing art. So they could be in the medical field. Okay, so they could be like a nurse, an x-ray technician, a doctor, a physician assistant, nurse practitioner, respiratory therapist, physical therapist, any one of these careers in medicine performing the role of healing. But I also see too, the word herbalist just kind of came to me as well. So maybe even like pharmacy work, right? They could be a pharmacist, or they could be a naturopathic person, or someone that really knows a lot about herbs, right? I'm thinking like those Chinese herbal medicine stores, right? In Chinatowns all over the world. That aren't in China, I guess, because obviously these China herbal stores would just be all over the place, wherever in China, right? Not specifically in Chinatown in China. That would be like really weird. Anyways, I'm totally digressing. So I also heard that as well. The other thing of healing too is I hear spiritual work. Okay, so this person could even be like a pastor. They could be a rabbi. So I actually don't know a lot of other spiritual leaders. Maybe even like a shaman might be another one, right? So if you have a different religion, then they could, and it's okay to like get married in that religion for the spiritual leaders, then that would be another one of the professions that they could have. I'm also hearing too that they might even be able to do like energy healing. So they could be a psychic, they could be a tarot reader like me, they could be even a whatchamacallit, Reiki healer. There you go. That's what I was looking for. So anything that has to do with healing of the mind specifically, the spirit, the body. Okay, I'm not feeling so much like relationships on this one. That doesn't seem like it falls under this category for your reading anyway. So I don't think like a counselor or something like that, like anything relationship oriented. I don't really feel that. It's more about like physical body healing, healing the mind, healing the body, that type of work. Now, the other thing that I'm also feeling here is, oh my gosh, now I just kind of went blank on it. But there's a horse here. So I feel like this person could maybe even be involved with the earth. So they could be like a conservationalist, so eco conservation, animal husbandry, farmer, agriculturist, right? But I feel like their energy is definitely about like healing the earth, healing the land. So they're not the type that would use like pesticides, for example, or like cage up all the animals, like it's like free range chicken kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like they're very like um environmentally aware and like ecologically aware of how they use their resources, and their sort of practices when it comes to cultivating the land and creating like crops and food sources for people. So I feel that energy a lot as well. And I feel like there was something else, but it's like escaping me right now. So we'll see if it comes back as I do the rest of your reading. Now, this one here is their inner energy. So this is the part of themselves where not many people would really understand unless they know them personally, right? And they have like a deep connection or relationship with them. So like a really good friend, really close family member, or even you. So some people, like if you're familiar with astrology, this is kind of like their moon sign energy, okay? So we have Badger, perseverance, dig in and see it through to completion. So what I'm seeing here with your future spouse, or I said future spouse, well, your husband, is that this person is very like committed almost to a fault with this perseverance. It's kind of like whatever they set their mind to, they are a bit bullheaded and a bit stubborn at times to seeing it through to the end. And that can have like good traits and bad traits. I feel like there might be a little bit of impatience with them because I'm thinking like a badger can be a very like aggressive animal. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm reminded of like this old video where it's like this guy talking about honey badgers, you know, like honey badger don't give up, you know what I'm saying? Like that was the whole thing. It was like really funny. He does like this voiceover of this National Geographic footage of honey badgers. But in any case, I don't even know if that's a real animal. But in any case, I'm getting here that your future spouse can be very like stubborn at times, about seeing that things get done, and they can be a bit impatient, and when they're impatient they're like get very frustrated and maybe like a little bit unpleasant to be around just because they're so annoyed with how things are moving at such a slow pace, for example. um, but they try not to show it, is what I'm hearing. It's just like this is like internally how they're feeling, and sometimes it just comes out, you know what I'm saying, even if they try to suppress these feelings of frustration and annoyance. But I'm also hearing too with like their ideas that sometimes they may even be like a bit dogmatic. So when they feel very strongly about something, they're having like a debate or a discussion with someone, like they are really can be hell bent on getting their point across and even trying to convince the other people to agree with them, you know? And it's not even so much, I'm sensing it's not even so much about like they want to be right. It's not even about that. It's just sort of like they believe that they have researched this well enough. They have enough information to make the most like logical conclusion, right? And it's like they just kind of want everyone to see their logic and kind of approve it in a way. Like, okay, you're right. You make a lot of excellent points. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, and 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 it's like icing on the cake if they can convince the other person to switch sides if they were in opposition. But even if they're not in opposition, like they're just like, okay, yeah, I just want to listen to your ideas and like let me just hear you out and get your opinion. It's like they just want their sort of like accolades and their thanks and their credit, right? They want to receive the credit for like the information that they're sharing. It's like a very, very interesting energy. I feel like you probably know somebody like this, right? Where they just kind of want to be acknowledged that Wow, you really thought this out. Wow, you brought through a lot of good points. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's kind of the energy um, that they have. And I'm looking at this badger, and not all of the images, like the animal is looking directly at us, but there's this intensity about them, which is, I feel like, what I'm tapping into and connecting with when I'm talking about their perseverance and their stubbornness, sometimes their bullheadedness. And I'm not saying they're bad people. I mean, I'm sure at least 50% of the time, if not more, they do present a lot of really valid points. And they're likely, whatever their thought is on something, it's probably the best way to go. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes, people, it kind of might rub people the wrong way, especially if they're not ready to hear whatever it is that your future husband has to share with them, if they're just not in the right place to receive this sort of information from them, or guidance, if you will. So, very, very interesting. Now, this card here from the Marvel Universe is about how they sort of appear in public, right? Like maybe how their coworkers, their acquaintances, their kind of like first impressions to other people, like how they come off, all right? And you can think of this as a little bit of like sun sign, if you know astrology, a little bit of like ascendant as well, to kind of get an idea of what this represents. So we have hella, and this is actually the wrong phrase. Like this was a typo in the deck. And I forget what it actually is supposed to say, but let me grab that real quick. So with this card here, what I'm really seeing is that the impression that your future spouse tends to make on people is one of authority, because Hela is like the ruler of the underworld in Norse mythology. And so, the phrase, all things must come to an end. Um, and so I'm feeling here with this energy of authority, like a lot of people look to your future husband as someone who's going to sort of make the final decision, call the shots, right? And the one that is sort of like this natural leader. I feel like too that they tend to look at your future husband as someone who's going to be the authority and have the final say. Like they kind of defer to them to sort of set the tone, lead by example. If like they're just a group of people, for example, like your future husband just naturally exudes this authority. So even if it's like, okay, we're doing a group activity here, like everyone count off, and all the ones go here, all the twos go here, all the threes go here, and then like once the group is together, like everyone just kind of looks at your husband to be the one that organizes them and kind of like sets the outline. It's okay, this is what we need to get done, like who can do this, who can do that, and kind of like you do that, you do that, you, and right. And then if there's any sort of dispute or any sort of like uncertainty, then they kind of just look to your future husband to make that decision. So there's just this natural sense of authority that comes from them. And I kind of feel like that actually lines up quite well, especially with the healer aspect, right? It's like when people come to work with a healer, whether that's in the medical healing, spiritual healing, energetic healing kind of profession, it's like you're coming specifically to them for their personal knowledge on the subject, right? And most people, they don't have that deep understanding of medicine or like energetics when they go to these people. And so they're just like, well, I'll just do whatever you say, like I trust you, like you're the one who studied this, you're the ones who's certified in this, like you know best kind of energy. So I feel that very much from your future spouse. And like I definitely feel like they have the final say or the final word, because it's like all things must come to an end. So it's like no matter what, your future husband, it's almost like whatever they say is like the final word, like the ending of confusion, the ending of the disagreement or the argument. It's like whatever the decision is that they make, that's what the group is going to go with. Okay, so very, very interesting, right? And I feel like now this two energies make sense together, because they do have to be a little bit stubborn in a way if they're going to be a leader, because you don't want an indecisive leader. Do you know what I'm saying? And here with the Badger energy, like the core of your future husband is someone who just makes decisions. I feel like they have the sense that people rely on them, and so they can't be like wishy-washy on the fence. They can't be like weak-willed. It's like if they're gonna take a stand, if they're gonna well, hold on, blah, 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 blah. If they're gonna enter in a discussion or a debate, like they're gonna take a stand, right? They're definitely the person who they feel like they have to be the person who has a strong opinion, because the things that are being discussed are really important to them, right? And maybe just really important in general, so they don't really play around. And that's what I'm seeing here too with your future husband's energy, now that I'm kind of looking at all this, is they're generally pretty serious. You know, like these energies are not very like playful and joking and kidding. Like they really can appreciate the gravity of any situation they're in. And you know, they're pretty like serious. Not saying that they don't have a sense of humor, but what I'm saying is they're probably not the one that's going to be cracking the jokes or acting like the fool or like carefree, happy-go-lucky. Like I don't feel that energy coming through at all from them. So let's find out a little bit more about your future spouse here, group one. Let's just find out a little bit more like quirks or nuances about them with this tarot deck, okay? So we got a nice start to get to understand them a little bit better. Oh wow, so I'm feeling like these cards here wanted to come out. And then do we have any more for now? Yes, this one. Okay, let's see what this is, and then we can draw more cards too if it feels right to do so. So we have the Ten of Swords, Three of Wands, Seven of Wands, and Five of Wands. Okay, so I definitely am seeing this, what we were just talking about, affirmed here. Because hardworking, right? Disputes, handling disputes, disagreements, arguments, working hard, trying to advance, trying to elevate. So, and like kind of calling the end of discussion, right? The swords is about like communication, logic, rational thought, even like kind of debate, argument, right? That's all communication, falls under the umbrella of communication. And with this Ten of Swords being the final number in the sequence of Ace through 10, this is the one that is like the one who will make the call as to what is going to happen next. Like no more debate. This is what we're doing. Eyes forward. So with these energies here, what I'm seeing is your future spouse. I said future spouse again. Oh my gosh, I'm just so used to that. So your future husband is very, very hardworking. I feel like, you know, as I'm looking at these energies as well, even though Hela here is like a goddess, I feel like your future husband really has a lot of divine masculine energy. And I also really feel like I felt this energy earlier here where it's like they just see their role, whether you're in a same-sex partnership or not, that your future husband really sees themselves as sort of like the protector, the head of the household, the breadwinner, the physically stronger person. And it's not to like diminish your role in the relationship. It's just more like this is how they see their role. Like they're the one that has to be strong, that has to make tough decisions at times, right? It's like they just feel like it's naturally their responsibility in the relationship. But your future spouse, like they're very hardworking. It's like, yeah, maybe at times they may be not as understanding or sympathetic or empathetic because they're just trying to make the best decision no matter what the feelings are in the group, right? They really have everyone's best interest in mind. They want people to get better. They want people to elevate just as much as they want to elevate. But I'll get to that in just a second, okay? So what I feel like here is your future husband works hard and they hold themselves up to a very high standard because what they do, other people are dependent on it, right? It's not just their head in the... It's not just... They're not the only ones that have a stake in the outcome of what they do. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like as a family, it's like whatever they do affects the family. As a farmer, whatever they do affects the crops and affects the people that their crops feed. And whatever they do as a medical provider, a healer, affects their clients, and then that will affect the client's kind of other connections, right? So if like someone is sick and they can't help them get better, then that could affect that person's family because they have to take time off work. That can affect the place where they work because now they're one man short, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like there's that gravity again, that seriousness of Siri, okay, iPhone, of them coming through for you. Now here again, this I feel like there's not much more to be said with the Five of Wands. It's just like they can get into debates for sure, but they can also be the person that people turn to end the debate, who makes that final call or decision when people can't kind of work it out on their own. Now with this, so I feel like your future spouse here has this sort of innate desire to constantly improve, constantly get better, right? Like they're not that person that just kind of sits on their butt. They're going to keep climbing up that ladder to see what other things they can learn, what other things they can master. Like your future spouse is definitely ambitious. I said future spouse again. Oh my gosh. Me. Your future husband is very ambitious. They're very goal oriented. And, just because they achieve one thing, it's like they're not just going to sit on their butt and call it a day and just retire. Like, no, they're going to keep moving forward here. Now, with this, I'm also feeling, we're talking about decision making. Like, your future husband really has the capacity to make the tough calls, as seen by this rather gruesome scene here. You know what I'm saying? And I just feel like they have feelings. It's just they really find it as a practice in roles of leadership that they find themselves in, or roles of authority where it's like they cannot let their emotions kind of cloud their judgment. You know that phrase, don't let your emotions cloud your judgment. They have to be very clear-headed, and at times things that have to be done, like not everyone's going to be happy with. You know what I'm saying? It might not be a pleasant thing to have to go through, but it has to be done, and I feel like that's their vibe. I feel like, okay, Spirit was like one more card. So what do we have here? 10 of Wands. So it's interesting that we have this card coming through with Hela. So we have like this skull here, right? And this gruesome scene here, and hell. And so what I'm really feeling here is that your future spouse has a really big role in transforming the lives of other people. Like, it kind of falls in line with what we were talking about earlier with like the professions, especially where your future spouse, the reason why they're so serious at times is because they realize that they are there for really big events in people's lives. Okay, like in times of sickness, in times where people might be facing like death and stuff, like these are really big, and life, right, with medicine and stuff like that, like major life events, like they take this responsibility very, very seriously because they know they are there with people, helping them navigate the challenges of these major life events. So that's, I feel like, part of their serious nature here, why they're not a big goofball. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's good because I feel like because they're in this position of authority and power, that they need to take that power seriously and understand that their actions and their decisions has a big effect on other people. And so they get it. Your future husband really, really gets it. And they can get that, with consequences on things, it's like great rewards can come. So even though difficult things happen and difficult decisions have to be made, it can bear fruit still, that it can still have that silver lining, or have a good outcome overall, So, wow, your future husband sounds like, a very powerful person, someone forced to be reckoned with. So I hope you enjoyed your reading. Let me know what you thought. Let me know down in the comments below what resonated most with you about the traits of your future husband and what you like most about them, okay? And thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching. Thanks for the likes, letting the ads run. Thanks for subscribing to the channel if it resonates with you, of course. And if you feel like you need a little bit more personalized information, a little bit more clarity for you specifically, I do have some spots for personal readings. So just look in the description box down below to see how you can request one. But otherwise, remember, loves, it's never too late for your happily ever after. Take care. Hello there, Group 2, and welcome to your reading to find out more about your future husband. So to kick off your reading, we have the Lover card. So this card here is opening up to give us some insight on what sort of career or occupation your future spouse might have. So what I'm seeing here with your future spouse and having the Lover card is two different sort of, I guess, branches or career types. So the first is about like interpersonal relationships, and the second is about the arts and creativity. So let's talk about that. With the first one, with interpersonal relationships, I'm really seeing that your future spouse could be in the area of like therapy, counseling, okay, so sort of healing people and relationships, relationship with self, relationship with others, and I'm also hearing to like counselor, right? Like I'm seeing like retreat centers, so people who do retreats for like healing a relationship, getting to understand yourself better, connecting with your spirituality, like all those types of retreats that heal and address a lot of relationships. I'm also hearing too like human resources, right? Internal affairs. So it's like how interpersonal relationships work in a business, in a company, and sort of managing that. Your future spouse definitely has to be a type of people person, if you will, in this career field. So they need to be someone who is very empathic, very understanding, very compassionate. So I feel those energies coming through in those types of careers to kind of serve the interests of the people that they're working with, right? They have to really hold space for them and not like be all about me, and what I think and what I want to do. It's like, let me help understand what it is that you're going through and what it is that you need, and let me help you achieve those things, right? So very, in a way, like selfless. And with the white of this bird, it it really, there's like this gentleness and this purity about their profession where they have to kind of have like this softer energy, right, to work with all these people in harmony and be to kind of like get along with them, you know. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm also hearing like customer service. So they could be someone that kind of helps with sales or managing accounts. That's the energy that I'm feeling as well, because you have to deal with a lot of personalities, and especially difficult ones sometimes in those. And like your future husband really is able to um, do well under those sort of like interpersonal stressors, right? Where people are just being like so rude, and they can have the patience to deal with that. um, Now, the other branch I'm feeling here is the arts. So your future spouse definitely could be some sort of artiste, right? So that could be in some kind of medium like painting, sculptures, pottery, clay work, even like spray painting, fabrics, right? They could even be like fashion designer even. And what I'm feeling here is this sort of just like love of beauty and luxury as well. So, like you see these like gold beads. I feel like I want to call them pearls, even though they're not white. But they really have an eye for what are things that are aesthetically pleasing, right? So maybe they could even do like interior design, for example. They're really good at like beautifying things. They might even be like a consultant in a way where they can sort of look at websites, for example, or help with like branding even to make it more pleasing, make it feel like a little bit more eye-catching, right? So I feel like they have a really good eye for visuals, and maybe even a little bit of a good ear when it comes to music, right? Because song and poetry and instruments, playing instruments and stuff like that's all with the sense of hearing, right? So they have a good ear, they have a good eye, even taste, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, right? And a good nose. So maybe they work in the perfume industry. I'm trying to remember what the name of those people are called that are like, they have like the best sense of smell so that they can help create perfumes. It's like, it's very close to being able to distinguish all these different scents just as much as like a dog can. But obviously, like the dog is far superior. My gosh, I can't even remember. It's funny because I'm seeing like I went to this perfumery in Paris once when I was like in middle school, and my dad was stationed in Germany, and there was a word for them, and I just could not even remember now for the life of me. If you know the word for the people who have like a really strong sense of smell and distinguishing different scents, please comment that down below for all of us, and I'll try to remember to pin it. But the other thing I was thinking about was taste. So like the culinary arts, right? A baker, a chef, um, and or like a wine aficionado. I think a sommelier, I think is the term for like someone who like can taste all the different notes in wines. Um, and so I wouldn't be surprised if that's their talent too, or even like people who understand like how to choose coffee, right? So they have really, really strong sense of taste. Um, there was another career that came through, and I like got so stuck on like the nose thing that I completely forgot what. Oh, luxury. So I can also see them working in the hospitality industry as well, like being able to understand like what guests would like when they stay at a hotel, a bed and breakfast, Airbnb, VRBO, like whatever. Like they really have a good sense of how to make a space comfortable and decorate it well, like I was kind of saying earlier, so that someone feels at home and they feel like they're in a luxurious space, regardless of how much it costs. Wow, that was like a lot with their career. Okay, so this card right here speaks to sort of their inner nature that not everybody really knows about them, except those closest to them. So if you're familiar with astrology, this can be looked at sort of like their moon sign. So let's see about your future spouse. Cougar, confidence, be bold and take charge. So you know how I was saying how this person really has a lot of empathy and emotional intelligence here? What a lot of people don't know about them is that they're actually very, very fierce. They're very, very confident. And on on the inside of this exterior of like being soft and gentle and kind and caring, like they are really fierce, okay? Like I think what makes them so successful at this is they know their boundaries. They know what works for them, they know what doesn't. They know what works for others, they know what tends to not work so well, right? Especially when they're giving therapeutic advice and stuff. And so I feel like, when people come to therapy, they are very confused and they're uncertain and they're worried and they're scared. And so it doesn't help to be around other people who have that same energy. So on the inside, they have this confidence, this soft, quiet authority within them to be that anchor and be that guide for people who are seeking therapy and healing or resolution, right? In case of like the human resources and all that kind of stuff. And also, this confidence has to be very strong if you're going to pursue the arts. Like, you have to really believe in your talent and believe it's worthy of the attention and sort of the value of your artwork, and the value of who you are. Because sometimes with art, a lot of people take it for granted. Do you know what I'm saying? Or a lot of people dismiss it and say it's like a waste of time. And so you really have to be confident in your craft and the effect and benefits that it has for people. So I really see that with your future husband. Okay, now this card right here, this card is about sort of like how they appear out in the world, like how people who don't know them that well kind of view them or see them. So if you're familiar with astrology, this would be like a combination between the sun sign and the ascendant, all right? So you can maybe think of it as like first impressions, maybe for coworkers, friends, like random people on the street that they interact with. So we have spectrum, be blinded by the light. Ooh, so really what I'm seeing here is there's something very captivating about your future husband. I feel like part of it could be they actually are very attractive. So I mean, look at this goose here. Maybe I feel like it's a goose because of like the black beak, but we can even just say maybe it's a swan because those are beautiful creatures too. And this cougar, which is this sleek, powerful creature, right? That's like an alpha predator. And so there's this alpha energy about your future husband that's very desirable, right? To other people, they're like, oh, wow, you're really handsome, you're really strong. Um, and there's something about them that's just very alluring, you know? Um, I feel like they definitely also catch people's attention, right? Like I'm seeing that they're kind of like this light that everyone's attention just kind of like gravitates towards. Like it's really hard to ignore your future spouse. Up, I said it. I did this with the first reading. I mean, future husband. I'm just so used to saying future spouse to make it just kind of general for everybody, but I wanted to make this very specific to husband for this reading. And I am having the hardest time sticking to that term, future husband. But I feel like your future husband is like a head turner, right? And that when they speak, like people look at them and people listen. When they walk into the room, people take notice of them. And there's something as well where it's like people want to know more about them. Like it's interesting because with this hero spectrum, like there's a lot of it that's kind of in shadow. And then we have this streak of light coming through, right? Like this part is covered in shadow, and then this like part of her face is like lit up. And so it's like people want to know more about them. Like they find your future husband very intriguing. It's like, oh yeah, a nice package. Like you look great on the outside, dress well, whatever it is. But it's like, I want to know more. Like, let me get the gossip on you. Let me get the tea on you. Like that's how they kind of affect people initially. And I'm getting that your future husband can kind of like fall into a couple of categories where they're like really sociable, right? So they have like a smile on their face, they can talk to people, they can really, you know, they have people skills, right? They're very amiable, easy to get along with, right? They have that. But I also get the sense too that for some of you, your future husband can be very quiet and a bit reserved in public, but people still want to know about them. People still want to talk to them. And it's not that they're rude, but they don't really tend to divulge a lot about them personally when in public, right? There's still something a little bit secretive, a little bit reserved and held back when they're in public, okay? So it's kind of like both of those energies are present, and it's just kind of like everyone's experience is going to be a little bit different depending, you know, on who your future husband is. Because general reading and all, you know? So let's see what else we can learn about your future husband, like any other traits or quirks about them. Oh my gosh, when I said quirk, it made me think of like My Hero Academia. Is it Academia or Academy? Maybe it's My Hero Academy. Like really popular anime these days, and I started watching it, and then, you know, I guess the new season came out. I haven't got back into it. You know, I love anime, I love superheroes. Let me know if you love anime and superheroes too, and which one you're really interested in right now. Okay, let's see what else we got coming through from them. Ace of Swords. Ooh, so they have like a lot of brilliant ideas. I feel like that's the nature for creatives. And problem solvers too, with like the therapist, HR stuff. Four of Coins. Look, that sort of like energy of like, I got you. Don't worry about it. I can handle this. Oh, Three of Wands. Interesting. This came through in the first reading as well. Three of Wands. And High Priestess. And Knight of Wands. So this High Priestess makes so much sense here. I'm feeling that, you know, the High Priestess energy is really about that intuition and that kind of trusting your instinct, trusting your gut when it comes to making decisions for yourself and what's right for you, and your role in some type, whatever the interaction is. And I feel that here with the Lover. It's like, I'm hearing the word luck as well. Like maybe some people might consider your future husband like really lucky because they know how to be at the right place at the right time. They know how to interact with people who are really, really difficult and be able to help them solve their problems and move forward. It's like, I almost feel like with your future husband, you know, especially when it comes to like HR and stuff like that, it's like they're really lucky with their ability to resolve issues and handle conflicts, whatever it takes. It's like, I'm hearing that it's like when everyone else has tried and failed, like your future husband is like the last person, and like they just trust your future husband to like handle it and handle it well. And sometimes people probably just get lazy and they just want to send people straight to your future husband, but like, no, I can't handle every issue. Like, you guys try to handle it yourself first, and then if it doesn't work out, then I'll intervene and I'll step in, right? If in like the human resources capacity. But with like the therapy stuff, I feel like it's just like very intuitive, whereas like you just know, despite whatever someone might be saying, your future husband just knows like what they really need to hear, what they're capable of handling in that moment where they're kind of pouring their heart and soul out, you know, like what they need to hear. But with the creativity stuff, with the arts, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm really having a hard time being able to explain it to you. It's like, if someone were to give your future spouse like a blank medium, like a canvas or a block of clay or like random ingredients, like your future spouse would know how to create something very magical. It's almost like they don't have as much formal training as other people. It's like there's just this natural talent that moves them. Oh, maybe that's the intuition. It's like they just have this natural talent to create things, right? And it's like they don't necessarily go by the rules or the standard operating procedure, if you will. It's like I feel like they take very bold moves, and that's what I feel with the Knight of Wands. You know, like, okay, I'm thinking about fashion, for example, right? Like sometimes the fashion that I'm seeing is like, wow, that's really out there, but it somehow works, or it's a success and people go crazy over that style. Do you know what I'm saying? Have you seen that? Where it's like, sometimes you don't get it, and like there's no way you would have ever thought of that yourself, but they managed to do it. This bold, daring, sort of choices in tastes, in visuals, in sound, that are almost like groundbreaking in a way, and trend-setting even, right? Edgy. Ooh, that's a good word for your future husband, like edgy, you know? And again, we see the Knight of Wands with, I feel like, exemplifying that confidence so strongly, as like we see this young girl like charging into some sort of scuffle on her ram. Now, here with the Three of Wands, you know, I'm feeling this energy coming through about your future husband as well, and I tuned into it in group 1, and I feel like the energy is similar in this regard, where your future husband really is interested in continuing to hone and master their craft or their skill. So they're constantly experimenting, they're constantly trying to learn new tricks and things on how to do it. And you know what I'm hearing is I wouldn't be surprised if you are someone that they consider like their muse, or someone that they kind of like bounce ideas off of. And, you know, I feel like, you know, they have all these ideas at random times, and you know, a lot of times you're with them, and so they'll just kind of blurt out these ideas and like, what do you think about that? Or it's just like brain dump in a way with you. just so that they can express these ideas, these creative things that they have. It's almost kind of like they have these periods where they're really struck by inspiration. And it can be a bit overwhelming at times. Like, oh, I don't know, how do I handle this? What do I do with this? Like, I need to write it down. I need to make a voice note, or I need to just share this with somebody. So I feel like they're constantly being inspired. That's what I'm getting here. And constantly inspired to push the boundaries, push the limits on their craft and the way they manage people and relationships. So they really kind of help people kind of think outside of the box. Like, let's have you thinking even in a way that you weren't tapped into or connected with before, in a way that expands your consciousness and awareness, okay? And that's kind of complements this Ace of Swords quite nicely. They have lots and lots of crazy, wild, amazing ideas. It just like comes at them like crazy. Like, they hardly ever experience like a dry spell, for example, or they hardly have a hard time coming up with some kind of solution to a problem. That's how creative they are. It's making me think of human design. And I wouldn't be surprised if your future husband has an open head center, meaning like they're constantly inspired by things around them. And, you know, you ask them one question and they can think of 10 different ways to answer it or solve that problem, you know? So that's like your future husband here. Now, lastly, with this Four of Coins here, what I'm feeling this energy is people really feel safe around your future husband, okay? Just like kind of this cougar is the alpha apex predator. I said alpha predator before, like, well, I meant apex predator, like hello, of their domain. I feel like people feel really safe around your future husband, even if they look maybe like a pretty boy in a way. They still feel very safe around them and sheltered, and they feel heard and cared for and attended to around your future husband. I'm feeling too, now that I'm like saying that your future husband is like a really great host. They know how to take care of people and make them feel welcome and create this really lovely experience for them whenever they invite people out to eat or to like a gallery, a showing, to speak in the office, to discuss a dispute, or like in a therapy session. Like, their office is very like warm and safe. Versus like cold and sterile. Like, I don't think anyone would ever describe your future husband that way. So really beautiful energy. Let me know what you thought. Let me know in the comments down below like what you liked most about hearing what your future husband is like, okay? And let's just like, you know, giggle and get all giddy about it together. And thank you so much again for watching, and all the likes and allowing the ads to run, and the various ways you show the support for this channel to help it grow. It means a lot to me, like 100% real talk. And if this general reading has you curious more about more personal subjects for you, personal insight into your situation, like take a look at the description box below to see how you can request a personal reading from me. But other than that, I feel like my mouth is like tongue-tied, so I'm just gonna end it here with, remember, it's never too late for your happily ever after. Hi there, Group 3, and welcome to your reading to find out about your future husband. And so this first card here that we're going to open up the reading with is all about your husband's career, profession, like where they'll most likely be doing work and contributing to the world at large. And so you have the Stone card, and I have to say, like, this is the most clearest out of all three of the piles, is that your husband definitely works in some sort of construction or building profession. So I'm seeing the word like engineer, okay? And also in tech, so like software engineer, information technology, just the tech industry. I'm seeing like even building planes, building cars, not just building homes and apartment buildings and skyscrapers. So I feel a lot of structural work happening here. So that was like the first sort of thing that came through, is very straightforward in those regards. But the other thing that I'm hearing too now as I speak into it, as I'm looking at the image, is someone that creates structure in society. So what type of roles would that be? So like the police force, okay? So like Law and Order, dum dum dum, like the TV show, right? Oh my God, that TV show's been going on forever, crazy. So someone in maintaining order in a society. So that could be like a governor, a city manager. Again, we said law enforcement. I'm also hearing like maybe even like a detective of sorts, private investigator. I'm also hearing to like people who help maintain the structure of like a business. So I don't even feel like it's human resources, but it's like the people who create the policies. Maybe it is human resources, right? Even though I felt that a little bit more strongly in group two. But it's like the person who creates the policies and creates like this is how we're going to conduct ourselves, like the bylaws, the mission statements, like that type of thing, and like how the organization is run. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's interesting. I'm also hearing the word like Chamberlain. So I'm reading this like lit RPG saga book, and it's like this guy gets transported to a foreign land that's kind of like a video game, an RPG game, and he is responsible for starting a village and a town and like becoming the ruler of the land. And he has a Chamberlain who kind of manages the day to day affairs of the village. And who's very skilled at that. So, operations manager. Oh, I think that's the term I was searching for. Yes, there you go. So, I get the sense that your future husband like does really well, especially in positions that require a lot of organization. Okay, a lot of I feel like juggling a lot of things at one time. So even like a managerial role that your future husband would have, some type of leadership role, I feel as well, is very strong for him. Wow, okay, very, very good. That was probably the most straightforward one. I didn't have to get into too much explanation of, which was nice. Here we have their inner nature, okay? Your future husband's inner nature. So things that only those closest to them would really know or understand about them. So when we think of astrology, if that helps, this would be like their moon sign, okay? So let's kind of see what their inner nature is naturally like. So, rabbit, fertility, your creativity is at a peak. Um, so, what I'm seeing here is that your future husband is a softie at heart. That even if they maybe come off a little bit cold, uncaring, a little bit stoic, scientific because of the work, right? Like, engineers, construction workers, whatever, they might seem a bit stiff, a bit gruff, a bit unemotional, a bit boring, or like some construction workers that are men, like a man's man, a little bit gruff, a little bit rough around the edges, right? Like that kind of thing. On the inside, they're like a big softy. And I get the sense that they're, no matter what kind of tough guy attitude or uncaring sort of vibe they try to put off to people, they care really deeply, and they're a softie, and they're like, they have that sort of like heart of gold, bleeding heart. Like they can sympathize and empathize so well with other people, even though they try to hide it. And I feel like the thing is, they care so much about those closest to them that it's like, when you're suffering, I'm suffering. Like that sort of bond and connection is just so strong within them. Again, despite whatever other people may think who don't know them that well, they care very, very deeply for those around them. The other thing that I'm seeing here too is they're actually really creative. I wouldn't be surprised, even if this is not their profession, I wouldn't be surprised if they, like to do art. They like to create poetry. They like to garden. They like to maybe brew their own beer or something, right? There's something about them where, like, even though their work is very, like, organized and, like, right-brained, or wait, left-brained? It's been so long since I talk about left brain, right brain stuff. Like I'm confusing myself. But left brain, right? Like type A personality kind of vibes here with the career. Like on the inside, they're actually very creative. They're very, I'm hearing the word very musical. Maybe they love to sing. Maybe they love playing an instrument. And this thing is like, they have these creative pursuits, but it's like they don't necessarily want to make that their career. They like having these two things separate, you know? Nowadays, the trend is kind of like do what you love and make an earning with your creative endeavors and your creative projects. And granted, there are a lot more ways to earn an income now with your creative expression these days. But I feel like this future husband of yours, they kind of like to have things separate. Like they really want their creativity to be more of a hobby where they can indulge in it and not feel any pressure to perform or be a certain way and like go through that process of like, how do I sell my art and whatnot. And they're very happy with the work that they do as well. Like this still fulfills them. And they understand it still has a purpose in like society to do these types of jobs of technology and buildings and city planning, organizing, all that kind of stuff, right? People need that still. Yeah, I think that's all I'm getting so far. Now, this card right here, the Marvel Universe, because you know I love my superheroes and stuff, this represents like their outer persona. So how people who don't know them that well kind of see them, their first impression, if you will, of your future husband. And if you're familiar with astrology, you can look at this card as representing sort of this blend of their sun sign characteristics and their ascendant characteristics. So we have the Hulk. Oh my gosh. Think first, smash later. So definitely, I think your future husband, I almost said spouse, and I've been doing that for the other readings like crazy. The first video was the worst, the first reading. But I'm getting the sense that a lot of people see that your future husband, they can tell like there's two sides to them, right? There's this left brain side and then there's right brain side, of course. But it's more that they just sense it. They don't really know, okay? They know that there's more to your future husband than meets the eye. And I feel like, you know, as they get to know your future husband, it's like they kind of really get pleasantly surprised at his characteristics and his interest and things like that. I'm also seeing too that a lot of people probably see your future husband again as a little bit intimidating, a little bit scary, maybe grumpy or angry kind of persona. But again, remember, they're really soft on the inside. So there's this sort of like, you know, Hulk and Dr. Bruce Banner in the comics before is sort of like the Hulk is this raging creature, right? So very much this Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Oh, excuse me, kind of energy here. Wow, I feel like I'm going to talk for a second. And so it's almost like when they're around your future husband, remember how I was saying about the surprises? It's like one day it seems like they're chill and everything's cool. And then the next day they're like, wow, you woke up on the wrong side of the bed kind of thing. Like, why are you so grumpy? Or like, did I do something that made you mad? And like, why are you taking it out on me? You know, like I feel like there's this sort of energy with them where it like keeps people on their toes. And they're constantly surprised. Like, it's like, oh, wow. Like, that was actually a really nice thing that you said. Like, you've never really complimented me before on a good job. You know what I'm saying? Or, wow, like, I didn't expect you to get so worked up over this. Like, I didn't understand why it's such a big deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I feel like that's sort of the vibes that they give. I can see, too, that they see your future husband, I almost said spouse again, OMG, your future husband as someone who's very strong, okay? I get the sense that, you know, your future husband isn't one to, like, do a lot of displays of emotions in public settings, right? They really try to hold back on, like, expressing, like, grief or sadness in public settings. They're like that kind of guy that like doesn't want to cry in public, right? Or let people know how hurt or upset he is by something. He wants to kind of have that tough guy sort of look where it's like, oh, nothing phases me. You know what I'm saying? And that kind of stuff doesn't bother me kind of energy. Very, very interesting. Okay, let's find out some more about your future spouse. Let's find out some like these quirks. I kind of love this because there's this like intimidation factor, but again, like inside your future husband is like, I know it's a rabbit here, but I'm like, it's kind of like that soft teddy bear, you know? I've met people like that kind of are scary when you see them because it looks like they'd bite your head off. If you say the wrong thing or interrupt them, but they're so nice. They're such nice guys, you know, like the friendly giant on the inside anyway, but I, you know, don't want anybody to know. It's a secret. Okay, Spirit is like, stop right there for now and we'll get some more cards in a second. So let's find out some more like quirks and characteristics of your future husband. So we have 5 of Cups. We were just talking about like crying and displays of emotion. 6 of Swords, and 7 of Swords. Wow, 5, 6, 7. So I'm seeing there's a lot of depths to your future husband that a lot of people don't really get the privilege of experiencing and knowing about them. I see that your future husband is very secretive in a way where it's like they don't really like their business to be out on the streets. They don't want people to really know a lot about them. They're a very private person is what I'm seeing here with this 7 of Swords. Oops. And what I'm getting this vibe is they just don't want to appear vulnerable in front of other people. You know, they want to appear weak. And I'm getting the sense that it was sort of ingrained in them, maybe in childhood, that showing your emotions is a sign of weakness. So, you know, we have this coyote wolf kind of figure taking these little daggers away, right? So it's like they they don't want anything to be used against them, right? If someone can see how something affects them, then they feel like someone can use that against them or use it to their advantage somewhere down the road. So I feel like that's probably why they're very private and they don't like to speak about home matters, family matters, personal things like out in public, and they don't want that stuff to get out. So I feel like your future husband has a really close circle of confidants for sure here. So interestingly here with this 6 of Swords, I'm hearing something about a childhood incident, which is so crazy because I did not get anything this like profound with the other readings. So something really troubling or tragic happened in their childhood, and that's why they feel so protective, because I feel like sadness and then moving away towards guardedness, right? So they're trying to cope with this sadness or this tragedy from their past that had such a deep effect on them by being more guarded and not being open because they don't want to get hurt. Like something really hurt them before, and I feel like I'm getting the sense that they're very aware of it. So it's not necessarily like this deep subconscious thing, right? I feel like it could be maybe one of their parents passed away or one of their parents left them when they were a kid, like, you know, single parent household type of thing. Or maybe I'm hearing too that they were betrayed by like a friend in the past or a lover in the past, and so now they're not so open, right? Maybe they were like bullied or teased even when they were a kid. Those are like some of the things that are coming through as I'm like trying to connect with this energy here. And so that's kind of why they are the way they are, because of their past experience. Very interesting. Okay. Also interestingly, Spirit is like, get 3 more cards again, because in the other readings I just got 5. So group 3, I tell you, like Spirit is always like wanting to give you the deets on things, like the 411, like give you extra stuff. I don't even know what to make of that. But you know, don't necessarily choose group 3 in the future just because you know that almost consistently there's extra cards and extra information coming for group 3. Like, don't do that. Just trust your instinct, okay? Sometimes it's good to have extra information, sometimes you don't need it. So 2 of Cups, Three of Coins. Oh my gosh, we're doing a progression thing again. If this is a 4, I'm gonna like die. Okay, the Fool. Okay, so let's stop right there. So what I'm getting here is at the heart of your future husband, they are really a romantic at heart. So remember, like, even though they're kind of rough and tough on the outside, they're really a softie on the inside. And I feel like, your future husband would never admit this to anybody, but they are a romantic at heart. And I wouldn't be surprised if they have a favorite romantic story or romantic movie that they love, right? Like Sleepless in Seattle or Romeo and Juliet, right? Or like these classic love stories. I wouldn't be surprised if they have a soft spot for one of those things. And I feel like, as the wife or husband of your future husband here, they really know how to romance you. It's like, I feel like out of all the people in the world, all the people that they know, they have the softest spot for you, right? And maybe like a couple other people that are close to them, like their mom or there's one of their siblings or like their children, right? Like it's like they're like a pushover when it comes to these specific people in their life. I think that's super duper cute. But like everybody else, like no sympathy at all. Again, maybe that more like cold-hearted exterior kind of vibes to everyone else. Here, what I'm seeing, interestingly enough, is celebrate. It's like maybe thinking of that song. Celebrate. It will be all right. Celebrate. That they, despite whatever their overall general personality is, they like to party. I'm really seeing that with your future husband, that they enjoy celebrating things. Like, I feel like they're that type of person that like can maybe make a big deal about high school graduations, birthdays, anniversaries, things like that. Now, I also don't get the sense that they're the type of person who's gonna like suddenly bust a move on the dance floor necessarily, but they really enjoy themselves at celebrations. Like they love seeing people happy and in good spirits. And I feel like, it would be quite the sight to see your future husband like smiling and like looking like they're having a good time at a celebration, because I feel like maybe in general they're not a big smiler. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm even seeing like maybe at rest, like your future husband kind of has like a frown, like a little frown on their face. Like, when you look at people and their mouth kind of naturally curves downwards, like I feel like that might be how your future husband looks like at rest for many of you. Like there's some people whose lips, they kind of like curl up on the outsides, or they just kind of like go flat. Now, I feel like that's the minority of people. Like I don't know why I keep looking at people's resting face, right? To kind of see like, do those stars look friendly or not? But I've been noticing a lot of people have that sort of like downward frown. But anyways, your future husband's smile is like really a sight to behold, because they just don't do it that often or so earnestly. But they do enjoy celebrations, especially I think they really appreciate recognizing people for a job well done. So like, when they hand out awards, if they're in like a leadership position or something, hand out certificates or medals of honor, right? Whatever, like if they're a police chief kind of thing, it's like, oh, medal. Or in the armed forces and they're handing like Purple Hearts or other accolades and recognitions, like they really enjoy those things, because I think it really means a lot to them to see people succeeding. Like they actually, again, on the inside, they're a big softie. Like they really want people to succeed. It's like, I get the sense that they believe in tough love. That to really tap into the full potential of someone, they need to be challenged, right? And I actually tend to kind of agree with that. I think you don't really know what someone's really capable of until they're put to the test, until they're challenged a bit. And I feel like your future husband really enjoys seeing people succeed. Okay. Now, what do we have going on here with the Fool card? Remember, we were thinking that this might be a 4 to kind of go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? But here we have the Fool card. Okay, so it's coming through for me right now. So, despite what your husband's sort of exterior might be like in his first impressions that he puts on other people, I get the sense that your husband really likes to give people chances and generally likes to give people the benefit of the doubt. Okay, I get the sense that with this Fool card, like your future husband isn't really one to stereotype people. And they really make a conscious effort. I'm sure there's times when this doesn't apply, but I feel like they make a conscious effort not to judge people right away, right? I think he tries to be really aware of his bias in situations, right? Like, and not make these general presumptions about people or groups of people or age groups or whatever, right? I feel like he tries to really give people like a chance to show their true character before he has any opinion of them. You know what I'm saying? And I love that. I think that's actually really cool that they're like that. So let me know what you loved about your reading. Like, what traits do you really make you swoon about your future husband here? Comment that down below. I'd love to like be all giddy and giggle about it with you. So let me know in the comments down below. But otherwise, thank you so much for supporting my channel, loves, with the likes, the comments, subscribing, letting the ads run. It all means so much to me to be able to see this channel continue to grow and reach other people to share these really fun messages. And if the general messages have you curious to know a little bit more about your personal situation, I do accept some requests for personal readings, so just look in the description box down below to see how you can request one. Otherwise, remember, loves, it's never too late for your happily ever after.